Smile for the camera. Okay, don't stumble over what you're trying to say. No, don't say that out loud. They heard that. Ugh, shut up, shut up. Okay, focus. Focus on the review of Chaos Walking, the new film with Tom Holland and Daisy Ridley. Chaos Walking takes place in a dystopian world where there are no women and a village of men can hear each other's thoughts in a stream of images, words, and sounds called the noise. This starts off pretty hectic, at least from an audio standpoint. We first see Tom Holland's character Todd and can hear his thoughts, and even sometimes see them manifest in this pinkish and bluish aura that pulses around his head. We're told this is called the noise. At first it took some getting used to, especially when there was more than one person on screen, because we'd hear their dialogue from their mouth and then it'd be overlaid with their thoughts that were also audible. And it was a little nerve-wracking trying to be able to focus on what's being said. Todd and the people of his town are on a new planet, and I'm not sure of the total length of time that they've been there, but it has been a while. I didn't get the sense that it was multiple generations worth though. The town is populated only by men, and it's got kind of this Western theme, and not just because they ride horses and have dusters. The entire setup for the town looks like it came directly out of the Wild West, except for one large space-age looking structure, and then of course their weaponry. There aren't any women around anymore, and we were told the ones that were there were killed off by an outside threat. So when Daisy Ridley's Viola crash lands on the planet, it causes quite a stir. She'd been traveling on a large craft, kind of like what brought the inhabitants of the town earlier, but I loved some of the reactions from the men in the town when they see Viola. I mean, obviously there's questioning of where did she come from and why is she there, but the best reactions come from Todd. He's never seen a girl, but knows a little about them. So when we hear his thoughts, which he just cannot keep quiet, it provides some pretty funny and awkward exchanges. I really like the concept of this story, but concept alone does not make a great film. There are some great characters here too, not only with Ridley and Holland, but we also have Mads Mikkelsen, Demian Bichir, and Cynthia Erivo. Mads is charismatic and maybe a little bit scary. He has the ability to control his noise really well, which probably helps him retain influence and power. And I don't think his character was as fleshed out and defined as he could have been. There were several questions that kept coming into my mind regarding him as the story went along, and most of them, they weren't fully addressed. David Oyelowo has a role in this too, and he plays Aaron, a preacher, and as much as I like him as an actor, in this, I think he's pretty much useless, or at least throwaway. If you took the character out of the story, it'd still retain the same feel. And Aaron is sort of an antagonist, but he's really ill-defined. He's easy to understand as a character, but the motivations and actions are the parts that just aren't addressed. There's one point where he becomes utterly despicable, but aside from that, he didn't add anything to the story. Even one of the climax scenes with him was just lackluster. It's a shame because they introduce a character that could be wildly effective in the antagonist role, but didn't build the character enough to make him worthwhile. On this world, there's a threat that is referenced, and it's part of the town lore, which makes Todd fearful of the Outer Lands. And when I heard this, I instantly thought of the village. I mean, is this all just folklore to keep the people at bay, or is there really something out there? Now, I like the concept, and I think it can be effectively used not only story-wise, but also to build tension. Unfortunately, during this, we're shown the truth. It felt just ill-placed and actually counterproductive to the story. And when you couple that with the fact that it's not addressed again, it then became unnecessary. The action in this is a lot of fun and really engaging too. I mean, there is a lot of the movie that is one big chase scene, and it gets harrowing at times. There are some really tough scenes to watch too, especially if you're an animal lover, but the action itself that they do is pretty well captured. The quickness and danger of racing through the forest with trees all over the place. I mean, there's rocks and boulders just jutting out, cliffs that seemingly appear out of nowhere. I mean, it makes for an excellent ride. And the camera does a good job too of putting us right into that chase. The dynamic between Todd and Viola is pretty enjoyable. They banter back and forth, but a lot of the chemistry is shown through Todd trying to keep his thoughts quiet and then watching Viola's reactions to them. I think the dynamic might be a bit rushed because their whole interaction only takes place over a couple of days, but I still found it entertaining. So if you look at this as an action movie, it's pretty fun and engaging. I mean, there's enough chase scenes, hand-to-hand battles, and gunfights to keep the excitement level pretty high. There's also a time factor here that creates a good sense of urgency within the chase. If, though, you look at this from more of a dramatic story, then it's a little wanting. The motivations of the characters aren't as developed as I would have liked. We are told motive, which can make for a really good social commentary, but I don't think the film dives deep enough into that arena to really address it. We also have uneven characters. I mean, Holland and Ridley are likable and are easy to root for, but because the antagonists aren't totally fleshed out, their threat doesn't reach beyond the immediate pursuit. There are also some other facets of this new world and the people who have come to live there that could have been more delved into. Ideals certainly come into play, but there's so much more to be explored outside of those ideals. This is based on a book that's part of a series, so maybe this is just meant to be the introduction to this world and how it works. And in future stories, we get some more backstory and development on some of the things that are lacking. But since I don't know if or when that would happen, we just have to go with what we're shown. I had fun with this overall, and I really had the most fun watching Todd and Viola interact. And even more so, watching Todd try to keep his thoughts to himself, which he's not great at doing. There's no sex, brief nudity, some profanity, and a lot of pretty good sci-fi or action films you've seen recently. Let me know what you've been watching in the comments below. If you enjoyed this review, please give it a like. Also, don't forget to share and subscribe. I'm Chris. This is Movies and Munchies. Thanks for catching with me.